All right, so I have a couple of news stories here. The first one involves a North Carolina woman who shoots a car invader. Let me share this with all of you here. This happened last week. A legally armed woman in North Carolina acted in self-defense when she fatally shot a man during a road rage incident at a grocery store parking lot, according to the local district attorney. Quoting now the district attorney, quote, "I think what's really important here for people to understand is that provision in our law is not an invitation to vigilante justice, but it does allow when someone has a responsible fear, I think they mean reasonable fear, for imminent death or bodily injury, that you're allowed to protect yourself." Wake County District Attorney Lauren Freeman told the news media. Actually, of course, the requirements for self-defense in the North Carolina law are a little more complicated than that. You need the 5 elements of self-defense, absent the element of avoidance. By the way, this 5 elements of self-defense cheat sheet is also something we make available for free. It lists the 5 required elements for self-defense, up to 5. Not every state requires all 5. If you don't understand these 5 elements, folks, you just can't understand self-defense law at all. So if you do nothing else, I would urge you to get this free 5 elements of self-defense PDF download. You can get it at lawofselfdefense.com/elements. It doesn't cost a penny. And for those of you who might be firearms or self-defense instructors, we also have this available in a poster size. If you'd like something to hang in your classroom, that's not free. The poster's not free, but you can learn more about that too at lawofselfdefense.com/elements. But obviously, the DA here is just speaking to the news media, which probably can't understand what he's saying anyway. So even if he got it right, they would probably report it wrong. But continuing with the event, Stephen McLam, 49, and he'll never get a day older, was fatally shot outside a Food Lion located at the Greystone Village Shopping Center in Raleigh last Tuesday after 5 p.m. Authorities who reviewed the footage of the scene say McLam was the aggressor in the altercation, who tried to pry open the woman's car door before she fired at him. Quoting now the district attorney, Mr. McLam was the aggressor. He followed the other individual, the woman shooter, into the parking lot, and upon getting out of his car, approached her car and attempted to get into her car. She, acting in self-defense, shot and killed him. Let's see. The altercation began as a road rage incident, according to local media reports. Freeman, the DA, said law enforcement officers were able to review various footage of the scene and interview witnesses amid the investigation. We were fortunate to have access to various video. Also, there were witnesses in the area that were able to give a pretty clear image as to what happened here. The woman, who has not been identified, legally owns the firearm and has no prior criminal history. Under North Carolina law, individuals are permitted to use force to protect themselves when there is a reasonable fear of imminent death or serious bodily harm. Well, that's certainly one of the requirements. That's a necessary requirement, and it's not by itself a sufficient requirement, but that's fine. We'll take that as a abbreviated summary. McLam was taken to a local hospital after the shooting, but he died from his injuries. Yeah, don't try to get into other people's cars, folks. The person inside the car may be a woman with a gun who's willing to use it to shoot you lawfully to death. So let's take a look at the law around this. Now, this is, of course, a shooting in self-defense, but it's a certain flavor of shooting in self-defense. It's a shooting of self-defense in the context of highly defensible property. Now, at Law of Self-Defense, we teach that there's 2 categories of property: mere personal property and highly defensible property, 2 different buckets. Mere personal property in 49 states, including North Carolina, can only be defended with non-deadly force. Now, we're talking defense of mere personal property in the absence of a threat to persons, right? Because if there's also a threat to persons, if it's a robbery type of event, a theft of property with threat of harm to the person lawfully possessing the property, give me your wallet with a pointed gun. That's not really a defense of the wallet scenario, right? That's really a defense of the person scenario. But if we're talking purely a threat to personal property, only non-deadly force can be used to protect that property, and only sometimes, not under every circumstance. Sometimes no force is allowed. Now, I said 49 states, including North Carolina. There is one state, Texas, that does have provision for the use of deadly force in defense of mere personal property. It has a lot of conditions, a lot of hoops that have to be jumped through. And if you miss any of them, or the jury believes you missed any of them, you don't have the justification. And if you've killed someone over that piece of property, off to prison you go for the rest of your life. So I would urge people, even in Texas, not to be killing others over mere personal property, but Texas, to be comprehensive, does have legal provision for doing that. If you'd like to see that Texas statute, it's Penal Code 9.42, and you can find it at lawofselfdefense.com/942. But certainly in North Carolina, you can only use non-deadly force in defense of mere personal property. But there's another category of property, highly defensible property. And highly defensible property is property that tends to have as a core function the shelter and protection of people within the property. And it always includes a home. So your home is highly defensible property. It sometimes, depending on the state, includes a place of business, maybe only your business, sometimes any business you happen to be in. It sometimes includes occupied vehicles. Now, unoccupied vehicles are always merely personal property. But an occupied vehicle has people inside it. So now that vehicle is serving as a function, the shelter and protection of the people inside the vehicle. So the vehicle hasn't changed, but the use of the vehicle, the nature of the use of the vehicle has changed if it's occupied versus unoccupied. And what qualifies as highly defensible property varies by state. So not every state includes all three of those, home, business, and vehicle. Many do. Some only include a couple. Some only include your home.